Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. I see a certain set of circumstances. If everything falls into alignment, we have an absolute nightmare situation in the welterweight division. And if you guys were with me on my live chat today, you guys already know what I'm going to talk about. I hinted at that I was going to make a video about this. But before I even get into that nightmare situation, let's talk about the welterweight division a little bit. You have Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington 2 happening at UFC 268 in November. And a lot of people are excited for this fight. I'm excited for this fight. It's a super compelling matchup. Basically, after how the first fight went, even though Colby had his jaw broke and was stopped in the fifth round, it was 2-2 going into that fifth round. There's been some controversy around the stoppage. I didn't see it as all that controversial. But either way, it was a highly competitive, fun fight. It was one of the best fights of the year. And Colby went out and beat Tyron Woodley, and now he's getting a rematch. It's more or less just based off their first fight rather than the Tyron Woodley win. But if you look at the welterweight division, and you guys heard me complain about it time and time again, finally some of these top guys are actually starting to fight each other. You have Gilbert Burns, who just recently beat Wonderboy Thompson at UFC 264. Quality win, but that's only one win since his loss to Usman. I really don't think after you lose to the champion by stoppage, I think you should have to get more than one win to get back to the title. Then you have Leon Edwards, who's on like 11 or 12 fight win streak right now, but he hasn't beat anyone in that top 5, top 10 of the division. And I really believe, honestly, he needs to get one more win against a top guy before fighting for a title. I know some people disagree with me. The win streak is great, but again, he hasn't beaten anybody in the top 5. So it's hard to really make a case for him. I think, and if you guys listened to me before, I think no matter who got the title shot against Usman later this year, before it was announced that it was going to be Colby, I wouldn't have cried and whined about it at all. If Leon got it, that would have been fine. If Colby got it, that would have been fine. It was what it was. So you have Leon Edwards, who doesn't currently have an opponent. I'd like to see him against Burns, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But he's kind of waiting out there. We're waiting to see what's going to happen with him. Then you have Vicente Luque, who's now ranked number 4. He's coming in off the win against Michael Chiesa at 265 by Darce choke. Phenomenal performance. He was in deep trouble early in the round. Chiesa had his back, looking for the rear naked choke. And eventually he scrambled out of it and got a Darce choke on Chiesa, which I did not see him winning by submission. I think a lot of people saw Vicente Luque keeping the fight standing and outboxing Chiesa and winning the fight that way. Nobody really saw him pulling off the submission. And Vicente Luque arguably now has the best case to fight for the title. If you really want to talk about it, he has 2 wins over 2, decent guys. One being Michael Chiesa, who was ranked like number 6, I think, when they fought. Before that was a win against Woodley. It seems like everyone in the top 5 is now beating Woodley, honestly. So Vicente Luque has a decent case. I'd like to see him win one more fight. You could throw him in there against, Edwards. He's not going to fight Burns because him and Burns are best friends. Then you have Wonderboy, who just lost to Burns. And then you have Jorge Masvidal, who lost back-to-back fights to Kamaru Usman. And in the last fight, he got absolutely starched. He's not fighting for the title unless Usman's no longer the champion. So you kind of have the division is kind of, there's no one guy who has an open and shut case for the title fight. Colby's getting the next title fight, but I'm wondering what's going to happen next. I think either Vicente Luque, Leon Edwards, or Gilbert Burns needs to get another quality win before they get the next title shot. So hopefully one of those matchups happens. I think it's probably going to be Vicente Luque versus Edwards, but who knows? Some guys just like to sit out and wait. Gilbert Burns definitely needs another win. So we'll see what happens. So the nightmare scenario that I wanted to get to, and some people are going to love it because they're a big fan of this guy. Some people are going to hate it. But at UFC 267, and some of you guys already know what I'm about to say. And by the way, guys, do me a favor. If you enjoy these videos, make sure to click the like button. I really appreciate it. At UFC 267, you have Nick Diaz returning from a 6-year layoff to fight Robbie Lawler in a rematch from a fight that happened 17 years ago. And I thought of this, as soon as it was announced, but I haven't talked about it much because honestly, it's just an absolute disaster if it happens. But if Nick Diaz goes out there and performs well against Robbie Lawler, and let's say he stops him, I hate to say this, we are going to get, and let's say Kamaru Usman keeps his title against Colby Covington, we are going to get Kamaru Usman versus Nick Diaz for the UFC Welterweight title, which I think is an absolute disgrace to the title. I think it's disgusting, but it's not unprecedented. Even if you go back in Nick Diaz's career, he got 2 title shots in a row. He lost to Carlos Condit for the interim title fight. Then he fought GSP for the title in the following fight. So for him to get 1 win over Robbie Lawler, I honestly believe they'll make that fight because there's so many reasons to make it. I don't want it at all. I do not want this fight at all. I don't think it makes any sense. But for the UFC, if you look at it from the UFC's perspective, from Kamaru Usman's perspective, if you're Kamaru Usman's a guy who's fought in he's the most active guy in the division. He's fought all the top guys. He will have beaten Colby Covington twice, who a lot of people think Colby's, one of the greatest welterweights of all time. He'll have beat Gilbert Burns, who's a phenomenal fighter. He's already beaten Leon Edwards forever ago, so that one's not as, that's not as great, when you talk about it, because Leon Edwards was so much younger at that point in time. He beat Jorge Masvidal twice, impressively. So he is, a guy who can say, you know what, I want to fight Nick Diaz. And Nick Diaz is an easy matchup for Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman will wreck Nick Diaz. I'm confident in that. I don't care what version of Nick Diaz comes back. I don't care if it's the best version of Nick Diaz we ever seen. Kamaru Usman will wreck Nick Diaz. And Kamaru Usman gets pay-per-view points. Nick Diaz is going to draw high pay-per-view buys. So why wouldn't Kamaru Usman want that fight? Especially when he can look at the field of contenders and say, well, Gilbert Burns only won 1 fight since I stopped him. Leon Edwards hasn't beaten anyone in the top division. Wonderboy just lost. Vicente Luque, okay, he has an argument. But, Jorge Masvidal got stopped twice by him. He kind of can say, I fought all the tough guys. Tell the UFC, let me have this Nick Diaz money fight now. And, the UFC is going to be like, okay, we can sell more pay-per-views. Why not? It's not really, we're not losing out on anything by doing it. And it would just be I would be disgusted. If it's a headliner of a pay-per-view, I don't think I'm ordering it. I would have to go watch it somewhere for free. I'm not paying for that. Because Nick Diaz hasn't fought in 6 years. And, his last fight against Anderson Silva was a no contest, a fight that he originally lost. Then it was overturned to a no contest. Nick Diaz has not won a fight since BJ Penn in 2011. If he gets a win over a declining Robbie Lawler and then gets a title shot after that against arguably number 2 best welterweight of all time, I will just saying it out loud makes me want to throw up in my mouth. So I just wanted to make this video because I wanted to call it before it possibly happens. Who knows? Robbie Lawler could beat Nick Diaz and none of this could come to fruition, which I think Robbie Lawler has a good chance of beating Nick Diaz. Robbie's been on the decline, but he's been active. Nick Diaz has been out forever. So we'll see. It's hard to pick a guy coming in, hasn't fought in 6 years. So let me know what you guys think of this potential situation. Do me a favor, like the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.